Howdy, folks. Doing the update for the week. This coming week, just off the front here, Tuesday, we have a board meeting for the commissioners. And at some point this week, there's going to be a meeting around finance, and I'll get back into that farther down. But some of what I did last week, I made it up to Powers. I had a meeting with their mayor and the mayor preceding him. We talked some about what they want to see as far as their economic development, what their objectives are, and some of the plans they have in the works, how we can support. Uh, Turns out they've got a lot of plans right now. They've got two trucks, one's ready to go, the other one's finishing up to do forest firefighting. And they're seeing this as a revenue generation opportunity. In addition to having the resource locally, they can contract those crews out to the Fire Protective Association when we have wildfires, and they think this could generate more than 100,000 a year, quite a bit more. So, and wasn't sure if that included maintenance costs, but they expect it to be a revenue generator, a net positive. It's an asset they need because anybody that's been out to Powers kind of recognizes if there's a forest fire, they're surrounded by a forest. So it's good that they have the equipment on hand and that they can make revenue for the city off it without putting any further fees on the citizens. All the better. Got a large open area that they want to see turned into a campground. That was a cool one. There are some challenges there, but I think we can work with some of our partners in the area, and I'll talk with county staff about how we can support on that one because it sounds like it'll probably need to involve us. But that'd be another good asset out there. It sounds like they've been enjoying some good economic turnouts from tourism. So that's been also part of why I've been meeting with different folks from the different cities, councilors, mayors, to find out what they want to see in their community. Because not everybody wants to go a particular direction or another. Some folks want to prioritize tourism, they want to prioritize industry, they want to get whatever they can get to get the engine going. So knowing what the cities are planning is helpful in that regard. So they're also looking at, I think this was early talks, but folks may not know, Powers has an airstrip. And I say that as in it is a place designated as a landing strip. It's an airport. You might think of it like Lakeside's landing strip. They have a landing strip. It is certified for airplanes, but it is also a grass field where you could do something like a music festival. I thought that was a pretty cool idea. They're thinking about how they can do that. There's another community that's kind of remote that apparently did one of these, and it became a big thing, and they want to look at doing it themselves as well. And they have the Bass Derby coming up, big fishing tournament. So those were cool things, and they also told me some of the things they need to see as far as business to be brought into the area. So if you happen to be looking at businesses you might want to invest in and you're interested in the area of Powers, they need a hotel. Theirs burnt down, so there's no hotel in Powers right now. So yeah, hotel seems like an easy sell. Laundromat, they could use a butcher out there. Saw shop, probably. Those were a couple of the things that came up in the conversation. I didn't write those in my notes, so I'm kind of going off the top of my head on those ones. But yeah, it was great to get out there to talk to the folks. I think Fred's doing a good job there, the mayor, and yeah, they've got some big goals. I was impressed. See, we got that out of the way. Circling on the Elliott item, that is pretty well stalled out. But I did get an invite to a meeting on the 10th of June that's going to be at the Elliott site, the former Shutters Creek. And it's going to involve a visioning group and discussions of impacts. So we'll see how that goes. Not sure where that wheel's going to turn quite yet. But yeah, I'll go to that meeting, see what happens, and then talk amongst folks and see what the next steps are for that situation. Be at the fair board tomorrow in the evening out at the fairgrounds, the Oak Pavilion. It's new. Um, and I've been talking with some folks to get folks out there. I don't remember if I told folks I was working on this thing, but a couple months ago I had been talking with folks from the Navy that they were going to have the Navy band out towards Eugene, and they were looking at getting them out towards the coast. So I was talking with them about doing that, and I guess the Navy band's schedule changed, so they didn't make it out here. But the Navy and the Army are still looking at getting some kind of presence at the fair. With I've been telling them I want to see equipment. Big cool vehicles draw crowds. If we can get some cool Army or Navy stuff out there, I think it would be awesome. So sorry, I keep clearing my throat. I've been traveling and I think it caught up. So yeah, I'll have one of the Army recruiters with me when I go to the meeting on Monday, and we'll see how much space we can get and how much equipment they can bring to show off to folks at the fairgrounds. Yeah, I think it'd be fun. Also, a funny piece of trivia, because I was BSing with the guys while I was sitting in there. One of the younger ones, I think, was trying to bring me back in, and it turns out there's actually a 2-year restriction. If you've been an elected official, you cannot go into the military for like 2 years until after you've been out of your office. So we're all safe from that. And it did sound fun, though, because I'm stupid like that. Anyway, let's see. I talked about that meeting. I also spent a chunk of because of what I'm doing with that 5% initiative. So I'm still calling it the 5% initiative. It is gonna change in terms of the number. It's just easier to say 5%. But that's the proposal for the state to be required to return 5% of income tax back to the counties and cities of origin. So those numbers would have to be actuated. And that's why I say the number is going to change, is because when it comes to overlap with cities and counties, cities still receive services from the county, but the cities need money too. They're in a budgetary crisis as well. So I'm talking with the League of Oregon Cities. I served on the board for 3 years, makes it easy to talk to people about how we should look at an equitable split of the revenues, so that cities and counties get fair shares when the two overlap. And we also have to remember, with what I'm talking about, this is a ballot initiative throughout the state. So it would definitely benefit us. It would benefit every county and city in the state. But the math gets tricky because we've all got different tax rates. So Coos County, we receive $1.08 per thousand of assessed property value, but there are counties in Oregon where they get $8 per thousand. And then in Coos County, we've got a city that gets over $7 per thousand, where we get $1.08. But in those counties where they get $8, their cities are going to get smaller amounts. So we've got to figure out how to balance this thing. I've debated how I keep people updated on that, because this is going to turn into a lot of math that goes back and forth, and it's going to be real boring for other folks, but I like numbers, so I enjoy it. I will be working. I met with the co-chair of governance and revenue for the Association of Counties on Saturday. I went up to north of Tillamook. It's Arch Cove or something like that. And back down again. But we talked about what we need to see, partners we need, unions we need to be on board. And yeah, that's moving forward. It's got steam now, so that's nice. And then I talked about a finance meeting this week. So we had the budget sorted out last week. We had figured out, someone from the Sheriff's Office finance side let us know that there's a grant we've received consistently for the last 4 years. We're expecting it this year, and even at a lower amount this year, it would be a big help. So we decided to include that as a number in the budget. With grants you're not certain you're going to get, you don't generally include those in the budget. But because this one has consistency, we decided to include it this time. Remember, a budget is a guess. It's an informed guess, but it is still, you don't necessarily know. Just like in your life, if you were to be offered a job tomorrow that paid a lot more, or if you were to go into work and the boss says their business closed, well, your budget for that year is blown at that point. So the unpredictabilities change the budget, and that's why I say it's kind of a guess. But that's what we're doing there. We had found some talking with the sheriff and finance. We had found $42,000 in another fund to move. It sounds like that may need adjusted as well. But the bigger hit we took was it? I think it was Thursday. It must have been Thursday afternoon. I got word that the feds had cut one of the grants that goes to our maritime division. So under the law enforcement side, under the sheriff's department, we have a maritime unit as well because we have a lot of waterways. We've got a lot of tourists in those waterways, and not all those waterways are accessed by the Coast Guard. So we have a maritime division. Because of the cuts the feds made, which I'll clarify that in a minute. I'm simplifying when I say that. But it's more than $60,000 we're not going to have this year or next year if everything stays the same. I did relay the situation to the staff for Congresswoman Val Hoyle to see what that comes out with. I don't expect a whole lot to change because of that, but what happened, as I have understood it, the federal government, when that grant went out, put in it requirements that the state commit to follow every executive order, unqualified. That didn't specify the ones that are determined to be upheld by courts. It didn't specify lawful. It didn't specify anything to do with situations that could get us sued. It was just, yeah, you're going to follow all of them. And then there was some other caveats around data, I think. And because of that, governor said no, or somebody in the state system said no, which then there's that shortage throughout the entire state. So where it went from there was the state has to decide what it's going to do with its budget now that that's happened. So what they did. Initially, it's my understanding it was the Marine Board at the state. It might be a different section, but that's what I gathered. Decided that they would focus the cuts on the smaller programs and keep the larger ones fully funded. So that turned into, because that doesn't sound real good, turned into a 30% cut across the board for all marine programs, maritime programs. Now, in effect, what that's going to do is your smaller programs aren't going to be able to sustain at a 30% cut. So they might come back and just say, hey, we're closing the program down, at which point the state keeps the money that would have otherwise gone to them. The other 70% that was left. And the state will look at that money, and I expect they'll allocate it to larger programs. So the outcome there is the same effect. It just sounds better the way it's being done now. So, yeah, we're going to have to revisit the budget again this week. The feds did what they did to kind of punish Oregon for the position that the state legislature and everyone has taken. And then at the state level, they made sure that punishment would focus on the smaller counties. Frustrating and disappointing, but it is what it is. We'll find another way to make do again, and yeah, we'll keep moving through the week, and I suppose that's the update for the week, and we'll talk to everybody later.